Welcome back. Let's have a look at complex supply chains. This is another form of organizational partnership, but this goes beyond just JVs, organizations working together. This is actually it's not something deliberately done. In fact, it's not something that you decide to do, and you have things like meetings to set up supply chains all together. What happens is that gets built over time as a business grows. It generally gets built over time. So, a supply chain is essentially a network of organizations. Together, they provide and process the necessary raw materials, firstly into work in progress and then into finished goods for the distribution and sale to the consumer. So, as organizations grow in size and complexity, as I mentioned, complexity in the supply chain becomes more common. So, you're basically from any end, right? From any kind of business, especially let's exclude service businesses. Let's think about products. There has to be raw material that has to be sourced, and then that has to be processed, and then that has to come to the manufacturer, and they will use that raw material to manufacture, and then the manufacturer will give it to distributors, and the distributors will finally take it to the it could be distributor pure distribution alone, or distributors who have frontline retailing. So, and then finally, the retailers will acquire the goods, and that retailer will sell it to the consumer. So, you have sourcing, manufacturing, distributing, or supplying, distributing, either way, on both sides, and then retailing, and then customers. So, when all of these channels, all of these elements work together, we call it a supply chain. So once a supply chain is established, once you do business long enough that you do have a thorough understanding of where the product is coming, because initially you might start by reselling. You might just take it from a distributor and sell it. You might just be a retailer. Maybe that's how you started. But 30, 20 years, 30 years down in the business, you'll start learning about from where everything is happening. You'll start learning about the whole thing, which is why most organizations, even in America, they have a lot of factories, and they have a lot of connections with Asian companies which are manufacturers. So, and they work with raw material suppliers out of Africa, and out of Germany, and out of Australia. So there is a network of communication that is happening. You're communicating with your raw material supplier, you're communicating with your manufacturer, you're communicating with your end consumer, you're communicating with your retailer. So this communication, this network is called a complex supply chain. So it's something that takes a while to get built. Now, how does it help us in performance management? Of course, what you have to understand is that the scope itself, the scale itself, offers a lot of benefit in terms of knowledge, in terms of value, in terms of intelligence, in terms of data, especially in this day of modern, data, big data age. And you do know everything, and you do have a better visibility of how everything works. And that means there's opportunity for backward integration, forward integration, lateral moves, working with sometimes cutting out the middleman, things like that. Whether it's good, whether it's ethical, that's a different matter. So there are so many ways of how we've known companies who are just retailers, but 50 years down the line they own the entire supply chain. Right? You know how Amazon started, right? Amazon was just a retailer, online retailer. They took a product from somewhere and sold it to somewhere else. Today, Amazon is manufacturing their own products. I mean, they are printing their own books, they are manufacturing their own products. Most of the normal retail goods, normal household goods, Amazon is manufacturing. So it as you can see, there are so many opportunities, but it's complex, it's big, it's troublesome. The people involved can be challenging. There's a lot of intensity in the work. There's a lot of online aspects to it. IT technology has to be used very well. Data security, privacy concerns, exploitations, marketing gimmicks, funneling, that and this. There are so many challenges as well when it comes to dealing with a supply chain. But again, if you own the entire supply chain, then everything matters to you. But if you don't, then there's also that limit of control. You can only do so far. So you can either focus on your part of the work, and see how slowly you can grow, rather than worrying about all the other elements of the supply chain and um, getting too stressed about things. So on that note, there are a couple of examples and a few things that you have to look at that marks the end of the conversation that I wanted to have with respect to complex business structures. We've looked at the classical ones, we've looked at the virtual ones, and we've looked at how modern day organizations and how as scale and scope has increased, uh, different organizational structures have come into play, like JVs and complex supply chains. We'll be moving into a different segment in the next video. Thank you so much.